You're born in the shadow of Rome, not in marble halls, but in a provincial town where dust coats everything and the empire feels like a rumor more than reality. Your father is a centurion, loyal, forgotten. He dies on a frontier road fighting men whose names history will never record. Your mother raises you on a soldier's pension and bitterness. In Rome, blood matters. Lineage matters. Yours is adequate, not exceptional. You're Roman, but not important. Yet, you grow up watching senator sons arrive in tutors' litters while you walk barefoot to lessons you're lucky to have. You learn early that Rome isn't ruled by law or gods. It's ruled by proximity. How close you are to power determines whether you're protected by it or crushed beneath it. You memorize names, faces, hierarchies, even the cadence of footsteps in the forum. Every motion matters. Every glance is a conversation. You notice when someone is pretending, when someone fears you without knowing why. These lessons are invisible, like air, but they are the most important you will ever learn. At 16, you're sent to serve as a clerk in a minor governor's household. You copy decrees you don't understand, tally taxes you'll never see, and watch men lie with perfect smiles. You notice how truth bends when spoken softly. You notice how fear does most of the work violence threatens. One day, a tax collector hits a boy in the courtyard. Not hard, not enough to make him cry, just enough to remind him his life is owned. You don't intervene. You only watch. You begin to understand the rules of survival. Action is dangerous. Observation is power. Your first lesson in power comes quietly. A merchant refuses to pay his levy. The governor doesn't shout, doesn't threaten. He simply delays the man's permits. 3 weeks later, the merchant begs. Rome doesn't break you with force. It stars you with patience. You watch the governor's fingers dance over ledgers, and you realize how small decisions ripple into control. The emperor himself never touches the taxes. He delegates, watches, and lets the machinery of administration do the dirty work. That is how Rome survives. That is how Rome kills quietly. You enlist. Every ambitious man does. The legions are Rome's spine, and you want to climb it. You fight in mud, heat and foreign blood. You learn that glory smells like rot and iron. You watch good men die for banners stitched by people who've never held a sword. You survive. That's enough. Discipline becomes your religion. The standard is never lowered. You rise slowly, first as a centurion's aide, then as a junior officer. Every promotion is a lesson in patience, in subtlety, in timing. You learn that courage is meaningless if it is not useful to someone more powerful than you. At 25, you're promoted, not because you're brave, but because you're reliable. Rome loves reliability. You don't panic. You don't question orders. You execute them cleanly. You write letters home you never send. You memorize supply routes, keep your soldiers fed, anticipate rebellions before they start. You begin to understand the true value of information. A single note in the wrong hands can topple cities. A single observation can make you indispensable. Your political ascent begins by accident. A general notices you're good with numbers. Logistics, supply chains. Armies don't move on courage. They move on grain. You keep legions fed. Men remember that. You are assigned to oversee distant provinces, collecting taxes, quelling local unrest. You learn the weight of responsibility. Every decision has consequences. Star the wrong village, and the whispers travel faster than the legions can march. Reward the loyal, punish the treacherous, always subtly, always, so the empire believes it acted without coercion. You're invited to Rome. The city overwhelms you. Marble everywhere, but underneath it, decay. Senators speak of virtue, while bribing slaves behind columns. You learn the real Senate meets in private villas, not public chambers. The public debates are theater. The private discussions determine everything. You adapt quickly. You smile when expected, bow when required, and remain silent when silence speaks louder than words. You observe patterns, memorize alliances, and begin to see the rhythm of Roman power like a music only you can hear. You marry strategically. She's from a good family, not a loving one. You produce heirs because Rome requires continuity, not affection. Your wife learns when not to ask questions. You learn when not to answer. Children arrive in predictable intervals. You watch them grow while you prepare your ascent. They will inherit the empire you manage, but not the lessons you have learned. They will not understand how much fear and calculation underpins every smile, every handshake, every decree. Your rivals don't hate you. They fear you might outlast them. That's worse. You move carefully, quietly, creating alliances that serve multiple purposes. You write letters to the wrong person and watch them be delivered to the right one. You know which senators' ambitions outweigh their caution. You know which generals crave glory more than loyalty. And you wait. Patience is the only weapon that lasts forever. You survive purges by being useful to whoever is currently winning. When an emperor falls, you attend the funeral. When the next rises, you swear loyalty. Rome doesn't punish flexibility. It rewards it. You are alive because you learn to be invisible until necessary. You are remembered because you appear exactly when someone else needs a scapegoat, a tool, a conduit. One night, you find yourself walking along the Palatine, away from the torchlight, away from the chatter of senators and guards. You see the city as it is, not as it is supposed to be. You notice the shadows between the columns, the tiny market where the poor sell fruit stolen from richer farms. You recognize them instantly, not because they are exceptional, but because you remember the smell of hunger, the desperation that once coursed through your veins. You remember being small, invisible, half forgotten, and you understand now that Rome never forgives weakness. At 40, the legions declare for you. You didn't ask them to. That's the lie everyone agrees to tell. The Senate hesitates, then confirms what the army already decided. Power always pretends it had no choice. You ascend. The title is heavy. Gold weighs nothing compared to the burden of responsibility. Every morning begins with petitions. Every night ends with calculation. You smile for public. You weep alone. Your handwriting becomes history. Your decisions become law. And your conscience becomes something you must quietly hide under layers of ceremony and expectation. You expect certainty. Instead, you get insomnia. Every decision kills someone you'll never meet. Raise taxes, villages starve. Lower them, borders weaken. Mercy invites rebellion. Cruelty invites conspiracies. You learn there are no good choices, only survivable ones. You begin to understand the paradox of power. The higher you climb, the lonelier you become. Every man you trusted, every friend, every advisor is a potential threat. You love cautiously. You smile strategically. You walk the fine line between myth and reality. You commission statues while alive. You pretend it's for the people. It's really to remind yourself you exist beyond paperwork and blood. You build forums, temples, aqueducts. Everything must shine. Everything must endure. The empire will forget you, but the stones will not. Or at least that is what you tell yourself. You die quietly one night. Fever, stroke, poison. Timing matters more than method. Your body lies in state. Senators weep convincingly. The Praetorian Guard negotiates bonuses. Somewhere, a new man is being sworn in. The city endures. You are already history. Somewhere, a boy is being born under Rome's banners. A provincial child. Unknown, overlooked. He will walk the streets you once walked, barefoot, unnoticed. And history will quietly begin its work again. That's the truth of power. It is always a cycle, and the cost is never your own. The empire survives. Always.